Hello guys, it's Katie and welcome back to another video. In today's video I'm going to be sharing with you guys how I avoid crochet burnout, as well as how I draw inspiration for crochet projects and just keep myself inspired to continue crocheting. Like I said, this video is going to be covering crochet burnout as well as finding inspiration for crochet projects. I am kind of putting these two topics together because I feel like, at least for myself, one of the best ways to avoid crochet burnout is finding inspiration to continue crocheting. So I'm going to start out with crochet burnout and my tips for avoiding that, and then we'll get into some things that I do to keep myself inspired. So first off, crochet burnout, what do I mean by that? I'm sure most people have heard the term burnout, but in case you haven't, a lot of people use that term in like their career or something like that, or their job, saying they feel burnt out, meaning like they're not inspired and they feel overworked. That type of thing is what burnout really means. So crochet burnout is basically you feel as if you've been crocheting too much, or you just don't feel that inspired to crochet. So as far as avoiding crochet burnout, I feel like one of the biggest reasons people feel crochet burnout is because they are crocheting a lot, or they started crocheting as a hobby and it became a source of income. So you're selling your crochet products, or like for me, I am crocheting to make YouTube videos on it, anything like that, or for crocheting to make patterns to sell, anything like that makes crocheting a little more demanding versus just a hobby. And when that becomes the case, I feel like that's when a lot of people feel crochet burnout. Now, even if you're only crocheting still as a hobby, you may still feel crochet burnout maybe around like the holidays and stuff, when you have to crochet a bunch of stuff for gifts or things like that. You still may feel crochet burnout. I'm not trying to say that you're not going to feel burnt out with crocheting only if you are selling products or doing it for a business. Of course, you can obviously feel crochet burnout just as a crocheter in general, but I feel like it's most common with people that are selling their crochet products. My first thing that I try to do, now a lot of these things are much easier said than done, but my first thing that I try to do to avoid that burnout is make sure I have projects going that are just for me, projects that will maybe be shown on my YouTube channel at some point, but they're not specifically for a video, and things that I want to make, versus like on my YouTube channel a lot I try to make things that are trendy or things that I think you guys would like, stuff like that. And these crochet projects that I have going on the side, I work on at nighttime, or maybe when I just have spare time off, like on the weekends and stuff, and they're projects just for me. And probably the only time you guys will see them is in everything I crocheted videos, or like on my Instagram, just because I want to share the stuff I've made. But I'm not making them specifically for content, or for selling the pattern, or for selling the project, or anything like that. So that is something that really has helped me avoid burnout. There was a period about a year ago where I was pretty much only doing projects for either my YouTube channel, or to make patterns of, or to sell the project. And when that was the case, I felt very uninspired, because ultimately those weren't things that I was wanting to make. So even if you are in the situation where you have to make things that you may not necessarily want to make, still have projects going that are of things you want to make and that you feel inspired to make. Now, another thing that really helps me as far as crochet burnout is planning out my timing. So for example, something that would be very easy to feel crochet burnout with is something like a temperature blanket, where you're supposed to work on one row every single day for a whole entire year. Or again, with the example of making products, if you are making a bunch of products and making a lot of sales, then that makes it easy to feel crochet burnout. Now, if you are planning your timing correctly for, again, back to the temperature blanket, and you have a set time every single day you're going to work on it, or you do like 1 day a week and you do 7 rows in that one day, anything like that is going to help you feel more organized and not feel so stressed about those crochet projects. And when you start to feel a little bit of stress, that little bit of stress does add up, and that unfortunately leads to the burnout stage. So if you can, do your best to plan a time of day or what days of the week or anything like that that you can plan out for when you're going to work on projects, how long you're going to spend on them. All of that should help you as well with crochet burnout. If it's possible, be pretty particular with the projects you are making. So, for example, again, if you're running a business or a side hustle that has to do with crocheting, don't make things just because, like, oh, I can make a lot of money off of this or something like that. Try your hardest to make things that you still feel inspired to make. It's okay to tell people no. The best way I found to tell people no when I was doing custom orders is to redirect them to somebody else that does crochet custom orders, and just tell them nicely that I don't think I'm the best person to make this for you, but you could reach out to this person. They also do amazing crochet work. That was the best way I found, and that way, even if they do want more crochet stuff made in the future, they still may come back to you, and maybe that project will be a better fit for you. But you don't want to make too many crochet things, especially right in a row, that you're not inspired to make, because that will definitely lead you down a path to burnout. Another thing that helps me with burnout is just starting really small. So if I'm like completely burnt out and I don't feel like crocheting at all, kind of just forcing myself to make something really, really small. It could be a little tiny amigurumi, it could be a small headband, it could be a beanie, anything that's like a pretty quick project to work up, something not too complicated. And after I've done that, it's one of those things that's like, oh, why don't I make something bigger? And you can kind of go from there and work your way back up into making bigger projects or more of them. And again, another thing to help you with burnout. Alright, now, my biggest thing, like I said earlier about crochet burnout, is trying to stay inspired and finding ways to stay inspired. Even when I'm starting to feel a little bit burnt out, I'll go through and do some of these things to feel a little bit more inspired, and normally this really helps. So I'm going to share with you my ways that I have found to stay inspired to crochet. So a lot of these involve looking at other people's projects. So in no way am I telling you to copy other people's projects. Again, this is just inspiration. You never want to copy anything anybody else is doing. Of course, if you buy the pattern off them or you're using a free pattern, that's one thing, but you don't want to completely copy what somebody else is doing and sell it as your own. At least give the person credit, type of thing is what I'm getting at. Anyway, just give credit where credit is due, okay? Even if you're only inspired by something, just the colors or just the style of something, it's still best to give credit where credit is due and say, I saw this that this person made and I really liked it and I got inspired and made this, type of thing is the best way to go about it. But anyways, first way that I absolutely love is Pinterest. Most people know about Pinterest, of course, but Pinterest is just an app or a website. It's both, that you can just create an account on, and they have so many different DIY craft things and crochet patterns, knitting patterns, all of that is included under that umbrella. So I love to find crochet patterns on Pinterest, and I have different crochet boards like crochet clothes, crochet stuffed animals, crochet blankets, all kinds of different categories for crochet patterns. And whenever I find one on Pinterest when I'm just scrolling, I will save it to those boards, and I can go back to those boards in the future whenever I'm not feeling too inspired and I want ideas of something to make. I can go back to those, as well as whenever I have an idea pop into my head that I'm like, I really want to make a cardigan right now. If I have cardigan patterns saved, I can easily go back and look for them, or I can easily search on Pinterest crochet cardigans, and plenty of patterns will come up. And the great thing about Pinterest as well is there's plenty of options for free patterns and paid for patterns. So whatever you are in the market for, you can almost always find on Pinterest. So I love Pinterest a lot, and that is like my #1 way of finding crochet patterns. And just finding those crochet patterns keeps me inspired to create my own patterns or follow those patterns, all of that kind of stuff. So next thing I love is crochet TikTok. So even if you don't have TikTok, you can watch TikTok compilations or Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts. Any of that stuff is the same idea as crochet TikToks, but I'm just going to be referring to TikToks. And I absolutely love to watch people on TikTok or like YouTube compilations of those TikToks of people crocheting different things. So there's obviously different categories. You could search up like crochet clothes, you could search up crochet blankets, whatever you wanted to search up to find inspiration. But I do love to go through people's TikToks and see what other people are making, because again, it's another way to draw inspiration that I think is a great way to help you figure out what you're wanting to make or keep you inspired to just make whatever you're already making. So next idea for me is, again, more social media, this time Instagram. Even when I see celebrities wearing like crochet clothes, or people that I follow on Instagram that crochet and sell their crochet patterns or have free crochet patterns, whatever it is, with that, I love to save their post on Instagram, and you can also organize your tabs on Instagram. And I have a crochet tab, and whenever I save like free patterns, I put it under free patterns, or inspiration, I have an inspiration tab, all of that kind of stuff. Again, it's something good to look back on whenever you are not feeling so inspired, and also just a great way to save patterns that you may want to make in the future. It's basically the same for all social medias. If you can save posts on the app or the website, then do that. If you can't save them, you could screenshot them. Just again, make sure you keep in mind who made the pattern or the crochet thing in general. So if you do draw inspiration from them and make your own thing, you can give credit. Or if you want to use their own pattern, then you obviously still know who made it, and you can refer back to their website or their Etsy, whatever it is. But with all of that stuff, it is a great way to find inspiration. And I just mentioned Etsy, same thing with that. I love to go on Etsy and find crochet patterns that I may want to use in the future and heart those, put them in my favorites. And also with YouTube videos, I love whenever I find a crochet tutorial that I really like, I will again save it to my watch later list, and again I can look back at all of these places for inspiration. So I've talked for a long time just about like social media and finding other people's things to draw inspiration, which of course that is a great way. That is most of the time how I get inspiration, but I also have a few other things that I like to do. We all know I love yarn shopping. I'm sure you most likely do too. So if I am really not feeling inspired, I will go look at yarn. Go to Walmart, go to Michael's, go to Joann's, whatever it is. Sometimes just seeing a different type of yarn that I've maybe never used before, or a different color swatch of something that I already have, will pop an idea into my head, and I'd be like, this would be beautiful as a blanket with this stitch. And then I come up with something, and I can either look up a pattern that is similar to what I'm thinking, or I can kind of wing it and do it myself. And any of those ways makes great inspiration. And again, whenever you're at the yarn store, you can go ahead and get the yarn while you're there, and then you can make whatever you're thinking of. I just like to look at yarn for inspiration in general, so even if there's nothing that comes up in your head like, I want to use that right there for this project, maybe it will inspire you for something that you already have at home, a whip that you've already started that you want to continue, anything like that. And all of that is good to keep you inspired and keep you crocheting. If you have maybe like a crochet Instagram or just pictures in your camera roll of stuff you've made, or like physically the stuff you've made, it's also a good idea to go through the stuff you've made. And that is another way that I get a lot of inspiration, because I'll be like, oh, it was so much fun to make that project, why don't I make something similar? And when that happens, then again, I'm inspired to make it. So I think that's another great way to find inspiration as well, is kind of go through the things you've made in the past and kind of remember which ones were super fun to make and maybe try making something like that again. Alright, my last final thing that I like to do to keep myself inspired to crochet and kind of get crochet ideas is look at clothing either online or in person in stores. So if I go to the mall and I see like a knitted sweater or like a crochet tank top, anything like that that I feel like is really cute, that I'm like, I would totally wear that, I will take a picture of it. Or if I'm at like Bed Bath & Beyond or, you know, places like that that have like bedding or blankets, and I see like a pillow or a blanket that is like crocheted or knitted, again, take a picture. And that's again something that I can look back on to keep myself inspired. And I love to kind of base projects off of those clothing items or blankets or whatever it is that I find in stores. And you can do the same type of stuff with like stuffed animals or regular clothing. It does not have to be anything that's crocheted. If you see like a regular polar bear, you're like, oh my gosh, that would be perfect for my best friend that loves polar bears. I don't know, like, that's just a random example, but you know what I mean? That could be something that flips a switch in your head and you're like, I really want to crochet them that. And that could be the thing that gets you out of your crochet burnout and gets you inspired again. So any little thing like that could just be the little thing that you need to kind of flip the switch in your head and kind of get you back on track to crochet more. I love doing that kind of stuff, and I do have a whole folder because, again, at least on iPhones, you can organize your photos into different folders, and I like to do that to keep little things that I maybe want to crochet in that folder, stuff that I've seen online or in stores that I've screenshotted or taken pictures of that I might want to make in the future, goes into that folder for a little bit of inspiration and for something that I can look back on. Just like all the YouTube videos, TikToks, Instagram posts, Pinterest pins, all of that stuff that I save is good to look back on, just like the pictures. And it all together helps me to be more inspired and kind of figure out what I want to make next, what color swatches I want to use for that project, all of that kind of stuff. That is all for this video, y'all. I did want to say one thing before we end here today, though. It is okay to feel burnout, and it is okay to not be inspired, and it is perfectly okay to not be crocheting. Okay, let me say that again. It's perfectly fine and 100,000,000% normal to feel burnout, to feel uninspired, and to not want to crochet. Okay, I've been crocheting for 3 years now, and probably in the 3 years total, there was like, with the months combined, there's probably been like a year that I haven't crocheted at all. It's very, very normal to not feel inspired, and sometimes it takes a while for that one little thing to get you inspired again and make you feel like crocheting again, and that's okay. So I did just want to reiterate, even though this video is about trying to help you get over crochet burnout or avoid crochet burnout and help you feel more inspired or get back into crocheting, it's also completely normal to not feel very creative at some points, and it is a-okay. because creativity is one of those things that kind of comes in ebbs and flows, and it's gonna spike at some points and you're gonna be like, I want to make a million things, and then at some points it's gonna be completely down here and you're gonna be like, I have these orders to make and I don't even feel like making those. This is one of those things that you have to give yourself grace with and be nice to yourself. I know, easier said than done, trust me from experience, but try to be nice to yourself, try to be easy on yourself. It's all good. It's an art form, it's a hobby at the end of the day. Even if you're making it into a business, at the end of the day, it started as a hobby for all of us. And we need to remember that if we're going to stress ourselves out too much about all of it, it will not be fun for us anymore. And I know we all still want to enjoy the craft of crocheting or knitting, whatever yarn craft you do. So definitely do your best to not stress yourself out too much and just give yourself a little grace when you're not feeling so creative or so inspired. Okay, y'all, that is really it for this video. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please do give it a big thumbs up. If you guys do want to see more videos from me, make sure you hit the subscribe button down below and turn on the post notification bell. That way you know every single time I upload a brand new video. So there are so many ways to avoid burnout and find inspiration for your crochet projects. So if y'all do have any more ways that you avoid burnout or find inspiration, make sure you leave them in the comments down below, because I'm sure they could help me out as well as help some other viewers out. So I would love to hear your thoughts and what y'all do to avoid burnout and find inspiration for crocheting. Let me know what you thought of this video. This was a little bit more of a different style video for me, but again, since it's to do with crocheting, I thought that it would be something good that maybe would be helpful for y'all. So again, let me know on that. And with all of that, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys on Mondays and Fridays on this channel, as well as on Wednesdays on my vlog channel. Goodbye!